Hi, I'm Monika Treut. I'm the director of the documentary Zona Norte. And Zona Norte captures the story of Portrayed Uerê, a human rights project in the favela of Uerê in Rio de Janeiro. And it's founded by Yvonne Bezerra de Mello, an amazing human rights activist, and she'll be here also at Berlinale Panorama, and I hope she comes to the Teddy too. Thanks.
I first would like to know, what is your relationship to Brazil? When did that start, and what is it like?
Like everything in my life, it started by accident.
Okay.
I met Yvonne Bezerra de Mello, the Brazilian human rights activist in New York, because we had a friend in common, a Finnish journalist, a woman who said before, you have to meet this woman, Yvonne. She is amazing. She's a fighter. She is fantastic. And I said, I have nothing really to do with children, so that's not my thing. And but she insisted. So finally, Yvonne and I met in New York. We spent a whole Sunday together, and she showed me videos and photographs of her project in Rio, and I got really interested in seeing it myself. I thought the woman was fantastic, but of course I need to see the project first to decide to make a documentary about it. Then I got invited to Mix Brazil in Sao Paulo. That was back in 1999, long time ago.
Okay.
And
organized by people who do Mix New York, or is it
no,
like
it's Brazilian.
Okay.
It's a group of Brazilian queer activists. So they invited me to Sao Paulo. They showed a short retrospective of my films there. And then, it's very cheap to go from Sao Paulo to Rio.
Yeah.
As usual, I didn't have much money, so I just bought a ticket from Sao Paulo to Rio. And there I was greeted by Yvonne and her assistant Luciana at the airport. And I stayed at Luciana's place. I went to the favela with them. I saw the project. I saw the kids. I saw what they were doing in the middle of horrible situations. I saw how fantastic this project was. And I spent 5 days there. I also met Yvonne's family, then the immediate friends around it, the teachers, and I was touched. And I thought I would love to support them because they were in a very bad situation. They had very little money. They had a lot of kids. They had very few sponsors only. Brazilian government didn't pay for this model school. So I thought, I'm not a social worker. I couldn't work here, but I can make a documentary about this project. I went back to Hamburg. I wrote a proposal. And I got a little money from the Hamburg Film Fund, and I tried to get some TV station to join, but that didn't work out. And then I went back with just the Film Fund money, and I did some more research, and I connected more with several children.
And how was that? Because you earlier said that you initially don't really have a relationship to children. Why, and what changed it?
Yeah, it changed. The thing changed completely because the children, they are so open. They come to you. It's not like you're there like, oh, should I make a contact? How am I going to do this? My Portuguese is not good, and it was really bad back then. They come. They have so little attention from, their parents. Sometimes they have a mother or father or just an auntie or a grandmother, and there is not much love for them. And so they flock to you. They come, they touch you, they are next to you, they hold your hand, they want to be
hugged. So they seek like care, like attention.
Yes, they seek
physical
attention, love. They're very physical. And so I was absolutely touched and moved.
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah,
okay.
totally.
Okay.
And the interesting thing was too that I didn't pick specific children to portray. It was the children who were the most open and close to me. So they offered themselves to be portrayed. And then I had my crew come in from Germany. Elfie Mikesh, the wonderful director and camera woman, came with the camera, and I had a sound guy from Hamburg as well. And then we were there for 4 weeks. We shot the children, the project, and the circumstances of living in favelas at the time. Yeah, no, and then the usual thing happened, went back, cut it, and eventually the TV station who originally had said no joined, because I was
almost
on
like
my
that,
last
like-
pennies. It was terrible. And actually, the Berlinale helped with that quite a bit because it was shown at Panorama, the
Wow,
film.
okay.
First it was shown in Toronto, then in Panorama, and it got a great review in Süddeutsche Zeitung.
Wow, okay.
And then we called the head of the ARD station,
Okay.
and we said, "Have you read the great review?" He said, "Yes, I want to see the movie. Send it to me." We sent it to him. He called 2 days later, said, "Yes, we are in." So I was very relieved because I have my own small production company, and so, you know, that was the usual struggle. So that helped.
You got some money.
Yeah, yeah. It's good.
How is the relationship to the institute, like those children you said are basically abandoned by the state, there's no public funding, but then the film shows that there's so much military presence and that institutions are present in their lives, but not as a supportive force, but rather as a destructive force, if you want to put it
that was the problem with, we're just talking about the first film, Warrior of Light, right?
Yeah.
And this one is Zona Norte, is a follow-up on Warrior of Light, 15 years later. And the situation has changed quite a bit because, first of all, some situations have gotten better because the ruling Workers' Party they've set up a program called Zero Fome. That means they get a little bit of money so that nobody is really starving. But on the other hand, right before the big Olympic Games, the military moved into not only this favela but other favelas as well. But since this favela, where the project is located, is very close to the international airport and the main road from the airport to the city, this favela is strategically really important for the state of Rio and the city of Rio. They are afraid that the drug dealers could do something, block the streets, or even they have big weapons. They could even shoot an airplane because they fly very low right before landing and they fly over this favela. So military police moved in when I think almost 2 years ago to pacify the favela, to get the drug dealers out, to get the weapons out, of course. They failed, because there's not a good concept. They were just showing presence. They are there. It's very expensive to have them there. It's like an army. It's an occupation. And the drug dealers are smart. So, when they first moved in, some moved out for a little bit, then they came back. The military police, it's soldiers from other parts of Rio, of Brazil, they don't know the area. So it stayed as it was, and it even got worse because there were sometimes shootings between the drug dealers and the military police.
You can see that in the film too.
Yeah.
Weren't you afraid or were you terrified? Or
Of course. Yeah. And we were lucky, and we had a shooting permit. So
an official,
it was hard to get it, but we finally got it. And the strange thing was when we came in with our van, they knew it, and they radioed to the other military units. Oh, the foreign film crew is coming in, so don't show them any violence right now. We don't want the images to get out. But of course, some stuff happened and we got some images. But the really bad thing is for the inhabitants because they are kept hostage.
Yes.
Right.
And you say that the general situation hasn't changed for those kids in terms of providing means for a better future, institutional support in terms of education.
Absolutely. It's not as serious as it was with these types of favela inhabitants because there is a little money for food, so people are not starving. But
that's just the basic for human life, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But in terms of the public schools, so they do go to public schools, but the public schools, the classes are too big, the teachers are underpaid, there are I mean, they're stressed out. They cannot really take care of this, the single child who has a learning problem. And most of these children have severe learning problems.
Like just attention, like what is it?
Attention span. They have problems to, follow the curriculum. They have lack of memory. They have problems to combine short-term, long-term memory. Sometimes, they don't know where they live. They don't know that there is, they just know, okay, we live in Rio, but Brazil, where's Brazil? Where is the world? They come from a very difficult background,
So there's no early family care that introduce you to the world and then later taken over by institutions like elementary school or kindergarten.
Right. And here is Yvonne's methodology of Portrayed to Uerê. They really train the children to connect their memories. When they first come, they have to talk about their day. Nobody ever asks them, how was your day? So they start talking. They can talk about fears and hopes, and so they're taken seriously. And then they have... they learn in a way that they stop, have a pause, then they have capoeira, then they sing, there is music. So it's like a very mixed thing where kids can play, sing, and then learn some, play with each other. And, the teachers know them very well. And they really help them to get into the world, which is totally missing in public schools. Not because the teachers don't want to do it, there is no concept. The whole education in Brazil is,
it's privatized.
And the middle class, when they have a little money, they send their children to private schools, right? So I'm not criticizing Brazil because I think it's a worldwide problem. When there is a crisis, economic crisis in a country, the first thing they do, they cut education money.
Although we seem to be pretty lucky still in Germany in a way, compared, relatively speaking.
Relatively speaking. I mean, we will have a huge problem now with the refugee kids. Right?
What is your take on that?
I think this is why the film, for me, is important also, because you can see with her the methodology of Portrayed to Uerê, you can help refugee children as well to get integrated in the classes here. Because I'm sure they must be traumatized. They lived in war zones. Now you see images on German TV, so they come, they have a teddy bear, and they say, oh, hi, and they smile at the beginning, right? And this is now, it's now in Germany, it's happening now. And I think we can learn a lot from Portrayed to Uerê, from their long experience to work with traumatized children. And Yvonne also wrote a book, and I would really like for the book to be published in German. It's written in Portuguese, because she has really great material in there where you could really take on for the teachers here in Germany to work with children who come here, come from war zones, like from Syria or Iraq, Afghanistan.
What lessons have you learned throughout this? Because it really is a follow-up, your current film, right? And it's a long period in between. And what have you processed, gone through? What conclusions have you?
It's hard to say conclusions because I was driven by curiosity to see what has happened since then. Because back then it was small. And it's gotten much bigger, and it's gotten more professional in a way that there is more trained teachers to look after the children. And it's set up in a really smart way. So there is little money going to the structure. Most money goes to the children, to scholarships. Gifted children get scholarships to go to private schools. And it's all only living through donations. So there is not one penny coming from the Brazilian state or from Rio, the city, right? So.
You just came from a sort of like women filmmakers collective meeting or initiatives and talking about the role of women in film, but also in society in general, in social work, in the world right now, this really fucked up world we live in at the moment, and there seem to be so many, maybe you can even say backlashes, happening, you know, where there's in America, there's this weird man coming up again talking about
Scary.
strange nationalists and
Scary.
like border
Very
ideas
scary.
and a view of the world that is so alien to a lot of us.
Yeah, and in Europe,
Europe too,
the
yeah,
borders
of course.
look like, you know, then some countries they're closed, like Hungary, Poland. Nobody wants to take refugees, so it's
So
a
it
grim
seems that-
picture right now.
So what is like? Do you
Grim.
think it's a big backlash or what's happened? Like what's going on?
Don't
Tell
ask me those huge questions.
But we have to,
You
I don't
started
know.
with you started with the women filmmakers.
Yeah,
I
but,
mean,
but that's what I mean, because I feel
yeah.
like that we are, I guess, on a good path.
yeah,
you know,
I
it's
think
great,
we
but
are
then there
in
are
a
weird-
time. I think we are right now at a point where things are changing quite
Okay.
a bit. You know, it's in
And
you,
all
you can.
paths are open, or what? Or like
It's well, I hope so. I mean, right now it's a new era. I think is going to start. You know, finally, people realize we have to open up. You know, we are living in one world. We cannot say, oh, we live in little Europe, we live in little Germany. No.
Yeah.
We are affected by everything, and people now finally, everybody realizes this.
Yeah.
And this has different consequences.
That's the thing,
People
yeah,
who are
it has-
fearful say, no, we want to stay as we were. We want to keep everything for ourselves. But we cannot, we cannot. There is no, it's not possible to have closed borders. And this is, the borders are open. And so we live to see what happens. Right? And it's not so grim. I think something really great will come out of it. We just have to
persevere, or
to
what is
persevere, and on all different levels. You know, it's like there's one little level I'm now also working with is the women directors,
Yes.
because especially the younger generation started it. They are pissed off that there's 50% women finishing film school, and the numbers are amazing. I think it's about 10% of women can work in television as directors.
Wow.
It's still a totally male-dominated business, and the public money, the public funding for films are still totally divided and unevenly divided. So the majority of the money goes to male projects, and now this needs to stop.
This needs to change.
Yeah.
Because storytelling and all this like crazy world we live in right now can be such a powerful tool, right? To
Absolutely,
change things. So
and
this
I
is where it's
think
important, yeah.
there is a certain male pattern of telling stories,
Okay.
which I think is now dated. You know, I don't know
Has
whether
been dated and where.
for a long time, but it's interesting. There is this, the writer's journey. There is the hero who undergoes special difficulties and changes and comes out at the end as the glorious person. That's still like a really old pattern, which is still repeated over and over.
Yeah.
And I think today we have totally different new stories on ways to tell these stories. Like the whole world is getting so complicated, it's multi-layered, and we have to tell these stories. It's not a single person goes through an adventure, right?
Yeah.
So we have to take all this into account, the experiences we go to, in order to tell stories which are really moving and timely, based in the time we live in.
Wow, amazing closing words. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you.
Congrats.